What's going on, workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
We're going to try to summarize 4.5 hours of patch 5.3 content for you guys today. I think it's best we start with the highlights. I think it's best we start with our excitement, our takeaways, the biggest changes, what stood out for us, because if you don't want to hang out for the rest of the summary, we have the individual sections up for you on the channel itself. So check the playlists, just check the channel homepage, and enjoy. Like, hopefully this is a good content for you. We do have notifications on for this stream, so if anybody happens to subscribe while we're recording this, we'll get a thank you and shout you out personally. So we'll give this a try and see what you guys think. Chris, what just happened, dude? That's incredible.
So first of all, I want to say this summary is brought to you by $1 Game Club. Thank you guys. So many of you hit that join button to become a member and support us here on YouTube for just 99 cents. That's a huge thing. There were a ton of you that just showed up and a ton of you that commented in the live stream. We had an absolute blast this morning going through all this. Reflections in Crystal. So my big highlight, the biggest thing that I think was brought up in the comments for me is this is a huge amount of content. It's an insane amount of content. Starting August 11th, we are going to get something new roughly every 3 weeks through, it feels like the end of the year. I don't think that's actually true. I think there's some gaps, but it's pretty close. So with 5.11, we'll go over kind of what we're getting there. 5.3, excuse me, 5.31. It's been a long day. 5.31 will come out 3 weeks after. That's going to be all your Ishgard stuff for people that want to learn about that. And then 5.35 will be Bozja, which is just insanity. And that'll be at the half patch. So that'll be 6 weeks after the 11th, roughly.
Now, we're going to also be using the Reddit translation. So this is our kind of personal fan translation from the amazing people over at Reddit, Luna, Mooney, I'm butchering names, but be sure to go and say thank you to our incredible translation team. They do this for free for the community themselves, so be sure to go thank them over on Reddit. We'll include links to Reddit in the description of this video, so you guys can go just thumb up anything that they're posting and just say thanks, especially for the service they provide to help kind of provide a little bit more context to the slides that we have to then kind of interpolate. So, Chris, what stood out? Like, what is essentially your, like, holy crap, I can't wait for the 11th moment?
So I think the big piece of content on the 11th for me is just the sheer amount of story I need to get to. I'm really excited about wrapping up the Shadowbringer story. Just the trailer, if you haven't watched it, already made me have like the feels and everything, and I'm really excited about that. But it's also, for me, it's the ARR squish, and it's finally that reason to go back either on a new game plus or a brand new character, and there's justification for both. I'm excited about that. There's gonna be flying in those zones, so if I choose to do it through new game plus, I'm really excited about the amount of story that we're going to be dealing with.
More recorded dialogue than I think any patch.
More voice acting than in any patch ever.
Right. And that, I mean, this is just kind of building. This is the end of the Shadowbringers story. This is the moment. And I think for me, the biggest takeaway is the Save the Queen Bozjan Southern Frontlines, the fight, the battle content, which is coming in 5.35, which is probably expected at the end of September, early October. Always kind of like, we just always have to be ready for a delay no matter what. Now we're going to talk about that more in detail, but for me, that's the takeaway. However, I personally am really surprised by how much I didn't know I wanted flying in the ARR zones. I've always it's definitely like, oh, that'll be a nice to have. That'll be nice but when he's showing them flying and showing off the different angles and flying over Bronze Lake, I was like, oh my gosh, this is I want this so bad. I can't wait to go fly around and just get a different perspective on these zones, to see them connected in a way that they haven't been connected before. So I was like, I'm gonna like it, but I did not expect that I was gonna like it as much as I did when they were showing off flying actually in the zones themselves. So that was a big takeaway for me. But the biggest, obviously, is the front
So what
lines.
do you think you'll spend the most time on?
Front lines. That's the fact is that it's leveling content. One of the things I've said about Eureka is I missed the train. And yes, I could go do it. Like, honestly, right now, the only reason I'm not doing it is because I'm actually leveling my jobs, and that doesn't allow Eureka as a part of that option. And what this does is it allows for that to level your job starting at 71. It's going to scale you up to 80, and it's going to allow you to play. And Paddle a Dime Moors, welcome to the workforce. Thanks for hitting that subscribe button. But because of that, that actually means this content's going to have even longer life when they introduce new jobs in 6.0, if they do. I mean, you know, we're assuming based off of patterns. But let's say that happens. But if you want to
heaven on high type content,
it's heaven on high, but it's relic. But it's like all of these things kind of put together and allows you to kind of work on the story if you don't want to engage in the content. Or you can go and engage in the content and have other ways to kind of build up your relic kind of system approach. For me, this speaks volumes because I now no longer have to sacrifice leveling another job or doing the latest content. That's been the big struggle I've personally felt as a content creator within 14, where it's like, should I be raiding or should I be leveling? And finally, I give myself personal permission just to level and enjoy that content. And when all of my jobs are done, then I might try to get more into the raiding scene. Like I'm not trying to pull myself into 3 different directions in this one game. So beyond that, it's the fact that I can level. If I don't get to Dragoon or Monk or whatever, then I get to sit back and I could actually do that and work on them and enjoy this new content all at the same time. Anyway, I'm hyped.
So I would say for me that the biggest time sink over this might end up being crafting content.
Oh, really?
We got a new crafting beast tribe, which encourages any crafter you have over 70 under cap to go take part in that. The beast tribes have been a great way to level, and they've gotten better at telling those stories. I'm really excited that they got pushed from Kalusia to Lakeland because they didn't have the memory in Kalusia. What a cool reason to have to do something. And it looks beautiful, and the mount looks awesome. I'm excited about it. The quality of life changes across crafting, even outside of this Guardian Restoration.
Yeah.
The way they're adding to the UI to search, the way that we can descent stackable items, we'll have new updated gear. And then by the time that feels old in 5.3.5, we'll have Skysteel tools getting an update. Crafting is just getting such a revamp. I would love for that to kind of be something that I can't put down this patch cycle.
And you're breathtaking, Falcaccio. Welcome. Thanks for hitting that follow button on Twitch. This is great. I'm enjoying it. Feels like we're live without like being live. And I hopefully they watch these videos and we're like, that's me. I hit sub.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really it for me. That's kind of the thing that I'm most excited about, and the thing that I think will be my biggest time sink. It's a big patch. We are finishing up. We're getting our new Nier raid. We're getting the new Unreal trials. That'll be harder. So that'll be that scaled up. So it'll be like doing an old trial at the original difficulty with your level 80 skill set. So kind of
no new mechanics. I think that's important.
No new mechanics, no new difficulty. It's meant to, as best as possible, mimic the old way as it was. So kind of synced, like them syncing up. And then and we'll get a new trial, new extreme, new dungeon. The dungeon is meant to be like kind of the final boss fight of this story, is kind of how they implied that, which kind of just tells us it'll be tied into the story. It'll be a big emotional dungeon, and it should be really exciting to do that. They've blown me away with Dungeons and Trials, this expansion, as far as how they feel lore-wise. They haven't always felt, the dungeons this expansion haven't always felt like they've reinvented the dungeon for me.
Right.
The trust is kind of the big advancement there. So if you're not doing it with trusts, it really doesn't feel any different than Stormblood dungeons. But the lore side of the dungeons this time, very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's our summary.
Yeah.
And watch the trailer. It's awesome.
Yeah, especially the one in English, but regardless, enjoy whatever language.
It was awesome in Japanese too.
Oh, hands down. It's really cool because we get it first in Japanese, and then we get to go watch it in English, and it's like, okay, I'm actually looking for newer things and listening more attentively to what's actually being said and what kind of dialogue we can hopefully expect. So it's going to be really good. Let's start with the summary, and as always, we want to know what's your thoughts, what you're most excited about in the comments of this video. If you like it, if you feel like we earned your sub, guys, we want to have you back. And if you feel like this video is worth it, be sure to share it out. That's the best way you can say thanks for the content that any creator makes. Us, Mioni, Zeppela, like Happy, like everybody. Like it's a whole effort, and you guys are a big part of that. So thank you. All right, summary time. Now that we talked about our hype, let's talk about
first thing first. Congrats on 20 million adventurers worldwide.
Massive.
That was the first thing they opened with. Immense achievement.
That does not mean subscribers. So whenever, like, we'll see that
probably means accounts created since the history of 14.
And it doesn't matter. Like the game, it doesn't matter.
It's a huge number,
it's a
regardless.
Huge milestone, and it's only going to get bigger. And we'll talk about that with the free trial expansion, which is massive, but that's not as a part of the first thing we're going to cover. So they open with the trailer. They open with 20 million subs. And so let's talk about Reflections in Crystal and how we're going to go forward. Obviously, they apologize for the delay due to COVID. That's kind of a natural thing. We'll probably see that coming up pretty quickly. But so you know, the 11th is the date. That's also the date for the free trial expansion. The 11th is the day. Are we getting a 24-hour maintenance? It sounded like
we are getting a 24-hour maintenance. Patch notes will come out during that. There's a lot of things in here that we expect to kind of be finalized in the patch notes. So the 10th will be a good day to consume content, but not consume the game itself.
Right. So they open up as a part of the summary is that what is coming with 5.3. This is kind of the bullet point list. So we know we were getting new main scenario, new tribe quest, which is the dwarves. They focusing on Beast Tribe. Don't read into that. That's just how...
That's our crafting.
That's our crafting. That's how lower life forms. So potatoes aren't, beasts, but, for the Empire, they might be considered that way. New Chronicles of the Era, the Sorrow Were Lit. This is, while they're showing off the Sapphire weapon, this is not going to lead to a trial in this patch. That's coming with 5.4.
Kind of think about the reverse of what we've done with Relic, where we did like a single player thing, and now we're getting more multiplayer stuff this time. We did our big multiplayer piece, and this is going to be building. And if there is a fight in the future, this would build towards that, but it will not be contained within this patch. This patch will be more of the backstory and kind of following that side story as it progresses, wherever that may lead us.
Right. And then we know we're getting the Hero's Gauntlet. That's the new story dungeon that Chris was talking about. A secret trial. So this is going to be the big boss fight. Pretty much, I guess, the culmination fight for Shadowbringers. But it's important. So for our guide perspective, when we post on this, we will name it whatever the instance name is called. So just be aware, we will try, so don't
with a
have
generic 14 background.
Don't have autoplay on the 11th. So that way, in case, as we upload our content, we don't want to accidentally spoil something because you step out of the room. So just be aware of your autoplay feature within YouTube, and then we'll just try to make sure things are named according to the instance name for you guys. And then obviously the raid, and then we're assuming from what they showed with the raid, the mount, there might be a mount connected to it, or there's a new mount that's themed off of the Nier.
And it showed us two new mounts, and it looked like one was themed to the Beast Tribe and one was themed to Nier. We assume that's where they're coming from. They did not confirm that.
And then also in 3.5, the Realm Reborn revamp, the Unreal Trials and Phos Hollows. So Unreal Trials is Shiva this time. They're looking at adding in more, and so hopefully we'll be able to see that on a rotation. The Resistance Weapon Quest that I'm really excited about, that's kicking up in 5.3.5, so expect that to be about 6-7 weeks after the 11th themselves. Let's see here. Finally, they talk about job adjustments, which they kind of detail. And so to summarize, Monk's getting a Grease Lightning rework in 5.4. Bard's getting a buff. And Summoner's getting a nerf with Try Disaster. I was like, people were like, why? I'm down. I'm bummed about Summoner, this expansion. It's just, I don't know why. And now this happened. I was like, well, that's not even more reason to invest.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're changing some stuff with Astro.
MP reduction.
MP reduction, and a recast on change on light speed.
And sleeve draw is going to change, but they didn't really get into the details.
Yes.
More of that's coming in the patch itself, so that's going to be important.
Summoner's nerf is just the first part to another rework, so they want to change the rotation. But for now, Try Disaster is the first step. That's the first part of a multi-step process to kind of shift Summoner a little bit.
We got PvP adjustments, and the new season of the Feast is going to begin. So we'll see more of those details shared later. Now, I'm going to say this about Summoner. Personally, I really hope that they completely overhaul that job in 6.0. Same thing with Scholar. That's what I'm kind of hoping for this time around, like we saw with Machinist. Machinist is a whole new job this expansion. I'd love to see that personally with Summoner.
Sure.
We're getting Crafter and Gathering updates, new custom delivery client. Trial Synthesis is interesting, Chris, because it allows you to try to craft something without using any resources, so you can see if you've got the rotation down, so that way you're not going to end up wasting it. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so for anybody that hasn't followed crafting at all, especially over the history of 14, large portions of crafting was doable with a macro before. And in order to make it more interesting and more engaging and less of a I'll just set the macro and forget it, they brought the skill level way down to introduce a bunch of new people, but then that made it really boring for everybody that wanted that challenge. trying to get high quality and stuff. So they've started to try to add harder recipes. And so, but the problem is you create this gap in the skill ceiling there. So the trial, in my mind, yes, it will help people early on. It's available as early as I think level 15, they said. But really where I see it being useful is when you're trying to do more advanced recipes and you're trying to practice getting high quality, and you want to practice using maybe high quality ingredients or something like that, that would be very expensive to do for real. And just make sure you have your rotation correct.
Yeah. Ed Fountain, welcome to the workforce. Thanks for hitting that follow button. All right, so let's go. Also, this was huge for me, the reverse item lookup. You can see an item in your inventory and see what recipes it connects to. This is going to be great for anybody who is taking a break from this game for any reason. You need to step away and be like, oh wait, like I got this. Yep. What is this item? When you're running maps, you know, hey, like what is that worth? Oh, turns out it's like part of this insane recipe. They also talked about a calculator and showed off basically a calculator used to calculate crafts, what kind of things you need.
Told us about, where you can kind of say, I want to make this, but now you can also say, like, I want to make 5 of this. And if that thing has a sub item that is made in different quantities, right? So every time you do this, it makes 4 of these. It'll go ahead and say, okay, well, if you make 1 of these, you're gonna have to make this regardless. But if you make 3 of these, you're only gonna have to make 1 of this. And so it automatically does all the math for you. Which looks really nice.
Ishgardian Restoration update's coming in 5.3.1, which should be about 3 weeks after this patch. So kind of expect that around the end of August. And then the Sky Steel tools, the relic crafting items, the update is coming in 5.3.5, along obviously with
as a reminder on that, I believe we should be getting new crafting and gathering gear with 5.3. That will become your best in slot if that's pentamelded. And then with 5.3.5, that becomes your new best in slot after the Sky Steel tool upgrades.
And then we've got some miscellaneous adjustments. A party of players can be able to join another party of players via Party Finder. So if you have a party and you want to sync up with another party, you can do this via Party Finder. So there's that's a nice quality of life update.
Also cross-world that way.
Yes, exactly. The option to specify 1 player per job will be added in the Party Finder. Players will be able to use the world visit system while using the cross-world party. Oh, that's going to be nice, because it's like there's definitely some limitations. New chapters are added in New Game Plus. A new token exchange vendors are going to be added to all major cities. And if you don't know what this means, if you've ever been leveling and find yourself out-leveling the content, it means you're cut off from certain, like the high-end tome, let's say you're like level 65, but you haven't made it to Idleshire, I know. I just like the way I say it. And you haven't made it there yet. So now you'll be able to access the vendors to be able to get that gear for your and use the tomes that you've been acquiring through Poetics content.
You won't have to remember, right? As you're leveling characters, maybe you're leveling them only through your daily roulette. You're like, man, this gear's getting out of line. You're gonna be able to go to one vendor and drop your Poetics regardless of the level you're at, which will stop that gear drought where you're like, I don't even remember where the vendor for that is.
And this is gonna force you to update your guild making guides, because
I had a guild making guide where you went around and you collected up different things and you filled in these droughts for people that would rather just go to the market board than teleport out to wherever, Mordona or wherever. And now it's that guide may fail, but that's fine. There's other ways to make money in this patch. So the other thing is I'd like to loop back up the options to specify one party. So for anybody in Party Finder that's tried to set up a Party Finder, maybe you wanted one white mage. Now this doesn't seem like it's something you have to do, but they've now made it to where you could say, I want a white mage. And when that white mage joins, you won't have to update your Party Finder. That spot will drop off and then you'd be waiting. So like, that's the advantage of that. It's just one more way to make sure that it's doing what you wanted it to do.
And then they show off a new sticker system, regarding like the, we've all talked about how you can do, the group pose features. So they're added stickers and things. We wonder if it's going to be a collection based game, or if they're just going to have all these stickers in there for you. And then a Japanese comment was made, why don't you not focusing on this and focusing on making better content? Which essentially is that Yoshi P explained, like, the UI team isn't in charge and they can't go make battle content. So we put them working on this.
So when there's a downtime in a content cycle before they start on the next expansion, which will have a lot of UI changes. This is what they can do. They can basically, as he jokingly said, build Photoshop into Final Fantasy 14.
And so here's a picture of the mount that's looking like it's themed off Veneer, so we believe it's attached into the raid itself. And they kind of show off flying in ARR zones, and this was incredible, especially when they start going in here into Bronze Lake. Cool. Let me just pull up a picture. You can just see them flying over Bronze Lake. I think this is critical because it's always kind of been that weird zone. You had to talk to the boat person or run all the way around. Now I think they're even saying you could swim across. You just can't dive. We'll have to. I'm totally looking forward to jumping into that, and then they show off flying in more of the other zones and how that's going to work. We've got to talk about the free trial expansion, going to level 60, going through.
How do you unlock flying first? Just to wrap that thought up. How do you unlock flying?
Oh, you just beat ARR. So there we go. Yeah, no
Aether Currents.
Yeah, and I think that's probably just due to time, to the fact that they brought in flying, working on their free time, and it just, okay, we don't have time to make a quest and track all of that and add the UI for the ARR zones. So this way, you just easily unlock it. But, oh yeah, I'm jumping ahead because I want to talk about the free trial expansion before we talk about the Near Raid. And level 60, through the end of Heaven's Word, free. You can play, and the same thing as being as connected to the starter edition. In my mind, I don't know why you would buy the starter edition unless you want to engage with the markets. Right now, that's the only barrier. This is still not a free-to-play game.
There may be free company stuff, right?
You can't, you can't join a free company. There are certain limitations, as a part of the free trial, but I think this is going to give players the best look at a lot of the content from 50 and 60 without having, to sit here and play. Like now, level, play. And then if you want to get more involved, then they have the starter edition, which is going to mirror that.
The new player experience has gotten a lot better here as well. So the ARR story also, this is when the shortening happens. This is why we were just now getting this added to New Game Plus. So they've gone through and they've removed a lot of quests. Some quests got removed, like making your chocobo able to fly in old zones, because that's getting taken care of. So that doesn't mean anything now. So like some quests didn't make sense. Other quests were like, hey, you were fetching something for Waking Sands 3 times. We're just going to make you fetch it 1 time and we'll be good. And then also back then they had a guideline where if you skipped cutscenes, they wanted a quest to represent 9 minutes of gameplay. Now they've said that rule doesn't make sense anymore. They're not trying to balance the ARR experience. So now they've gone through and they've just said, we've adjusted all the experience, we've adjusted all the quests, and their goal this time was so that you won't gap out. For any new players, that you're power leveling through MSQ because that's what everybody told you to do, and then you just hit a point where maybe your rested experience wasn't keeping up or whatever, and you've got to go like run dungeons or something. You don't know what to do. So that shouldn't be a problem anymore. So that was big.
And also included, Dark Knight, Astrologian, Machinist are playable. The Aura race is selectable at creation. Yes. Genius. I think this is so genius. It's not free to play. So this is, people are like, free to play has its risks in which that it could bring more toxic people.
Sure.
That's just, I think that risk comes with growth anyhow. I think what this does is it gives people a better look and decide if they want to then engage with this community. We've heard often, even people have told me in chat and in the comments, don't recommend the free trial to people. It's not like, it's not representation. It might sour them because they're like, oh, if this is all there is, why should I keep playing, especially after level 35? So this will hopefully allow people
not even getting to do that many trials or raids or anything like that. They're like, well, this game was kind of boring. It's like, well, you didn't get to do all the stuff I'm doing.
Now, we covered the job adjustments, but again, Monk, Astrologian, Summoner, Bard, that's what was mentioned on the live stream. That's what we know. We're going to have to wait for the patch notes to get more. Chris, do you want to rehash anything from the summary perspective regarding job adjustments?
No, we hit on everything there. The big thing, buff to Bard. Monk, you'll be getting something in 5.4, but no need to worry now, good or bad. And Summoner, you feel like you're getting hit a little hard. He said there's a Summoner main in the room with me, and he couldn't look him in the eye as he made the announcement. So other than that, the big thing here is that they're pushing it all to the patch notes rather than releasing these changes now, which I think is a good thing. They're kicking these to the patch notes. So just expect on the 10th that's when we can all start to stress about whether or not everybody else's job got better and ours got worse, and it's not fair.
Still, Summoner, it hurts me. So the other big piece of content we're getting is the Near Raid, and this was surprising because they actually showed off either a big trash pool, but I would assume this is a boss. Really cool arena. You can totally get knocked off. I'm really, really excited. They also showed off like the circle, kind of like if anybody's played Nier, you have the kind of the space base. that's rounded, and so they show people sliding down that. That looks to me maybe crashed into the planet. So I'm really excited to go hands-on with this raid, especially if they've attached a mount to this raid. If there's a mount here, like that's where it's so interesting. Emotes and mounts are my currency. Glamour, not so much. Outside of the whole summer event, like the summer event glamour looks pretty cool, but I'm just saying, like, that's my currency. You want to really get me to like run something, you know, a million times until I hate it, you put a mount and you put some emotes into it. So the amount, if it's attached to this, it looks great, but they're not going to show us off anything. Like, that's actually why I'm surprised they showed off as much as they showed off, because last time they were like, we're not even going to go into this area. We're just like,
they've been having music shut off in these things. They turned off the music while they were on the mount. Yeah, they did show off a ton of glamour, and the amount of glamour this patch is definitely no letdown compared to any other patch. I mean, we always get a lot of glamour. This was a lot of glamour.
This was a lot, and so they kind of just showed off for different types, different bodies. You can kind of see here the Nier. This looks to be like the Nier armor set, especially how it's themed and how it looks. And it honestly is very impressive. Some incredible stuff. Here is the glamour that I'm talking about, what looks to maybe be the summer event. You can kind of see that here with the flowered shirts, skirts, and khaki pants. So it's, oh yeah, business casual, you know, drinking some tequilas on the beach. And
so that was the summary. That was the first half. So thank you guys for sharing that 2 hours with us. We just blasted through that, and then from here they took a little bit of a break, and we had a chance to watch the trailer, and then we came back, and that's where they went in more detail on quite a bit of this. So I guess let's go ahead and shift into that. You have anything else?
Yeah, we got essentially, they're talking about the dwarf, the Beast Tribe quest, and they, like we said, they moved it to Lakeland because they didn't have any more memory in Clusia, so they showed off the new area and them flying over to it, and showed off some cool minions. In this case, the watermelon minion looks awesome. It's just a watermelon that follows you around and occasionally splits open. And
it didn't just move.
Oh right.
Yeah. There's going to be a tragedy in Clusia tied to the Yorho raid, and that'll all be explained in the story. So we know that's coming. Yeah,
and so I mean, outside of that, we already kind of really hit the crafting changes in the first part. So they're just showing off more of that and how it works in game. So they kind of show off the UI. You can see that here, kind of the reverse search, the reverse lookup. This is what really got me excited about these features. Here's the calculator that you can see on screen right now, in which that it's saying, hey, you need 6 of this. Oh, you're gonna make 4. You actually need 20 because those that subcraft is going to take it's going to actually cost, you know, it's going to produce more, and thus you won't need as much. So it does all that math for you. They showed off batch desynth. So if you got 999 fish and they're just stinking up your inventory, you can just mass desynth.
When they nerfed desynth, my only thing was, then why not give me mass desynth? Like, if you're gonna make it this simple where I don't have to worry about capping out my level, and I don't have to worry about failing descents, then why not just let me auto descent like I can auto craft? And that's exactly what they did here. It ticks off one at a time. You go AFK and you just let it tick through stack. This is for all those fish. Fish is the big offender that literally have no use.
Yeah,
no use.
You'll
so
get
you
those crystals
leveling your fishing, and you don't have any use for them, and most of them just turn into sand. And so, like, I know I looked at making a guide on how to make money with descent, and when I looked at the amount of gil per hour, I literally didn't put the guide out because the number wasn't worth mentioning. It did make money. It was not a number worth mentioning because it takes so long. But now that I can have it auto descenting for an hour, we can do that math again and say, okay, how much is it worth? And this is a totally AFK hour. So that's something. So if you want to do anything before all these players rush back, I would go buy Shadowbringers level fish, and I would go buy them below vendor price, so that if you decide auto descenting is not fun or it's not profitable on your server, you can always sell it to a vendor and recoup your initial investment.
So, and then they go in to start getting into the future patches, 5.3.1 and 5.3.5. This is talking about the Ishgardian Restoration. Third phase of the restoration begins on with 5.3.5. New gathering items are going to be added to Diadem. So this has got a marketing question, like, if you have items now, what should you do? I've seen the markets only depressed, so you can see if you can sell whatever you have for a profit, that if it's worth it for you. You could also take a risk and hold on to it in hopes that some of those items are a part of what's going to be crafted along with these new items. But it sounds like, from a gathering perspective, if you want to make some money, be sure to have your gatherers ready to go gather these new items from Diadem, because that's going to be probably what it's hot. Go ahead, Chris.
The crafting items will change. No need to hoard the items that are there now. That's not going to help you.
Okay.
So just plan on hitting it hard. They said the items will change. No need to hoard crafting items now.
Okay. So then the question is that if they're completely useless, yeah, dump them, and the price goes bye-bye.
Doesn't mean they won't be useful for something. It just
it's a risk. It depends on
not have that demand as for the new items.
Right. Then they are talking about the Sky Builder rankings are going to reopen. New items will count towards the seasonal score. Top ranked crafters and gatherers will receive achievements and titles. And they kind of go into detail about like the top ranking, like the 100th, and then all the way like into the top 10 or something like that.
They're not sure if the title name will change. They were looking for community feedback on that. So, but that's their thought for now.
I ended up jumping down.
The new minion looked awesome.
Oh yeah, let me just pull that out. And they have you have a galley cat.
Unfortunately, we don't have amazing images on a lot of this. The stream for some reason was in 720p today on both YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah, it's in 720p, which was weird. But I was like, okay. Save the Queen, Blades of Gunhildr. This is the continuation from the story, but also taking us into the southern Bozja fronts. This is what's got my blood pumping. I'm so excited. New large-scale encounter. The Bozjan Southern Front. You're going to band together up to 72 other players to assist the Resistance in a mission to rout the 4th Imperial Legion.
5.35.
Yes.
Just making that clear. We've said it multiple times already, but I know a lot of people were like, I can't wait to get into that.
Late September, early October. Let's see here. And then you're going to focus you can focus in on just the story, or you can take on extra challenges. The decision is up to you on how you want to progress. And then they showed off various images of the front lines. They say it rains here a lot. It's very dark and dreary. Here's the best news. It's level 71 and up. So this, like I was saying at the top, this is leveling content. This means that new jobs that are anything that you have 71 in that range, this can serve as that option. I hope they make that change to Eureka. I think that would be huge to be able to participate in that content at the same time as doing this. You're going to gain experience, like I said, and you're also going to be getting merit or metal in this case. You have a separate level that's a part of this, and then you can actually store that metal up, and you can use it to increase your rank whenever you want. So you can actually go over the rank cap, but if you're playing with friends, you're involved in the content, you can then go. You can choose to go back when you want and choose when to rank up. And ranking
when you die.
Right? Oh yeah. Leveling down. Yeah, so your resistance
like
rank can fall down just like Eureka. They also have like the lost actions just like Eureka. But I want to talk about the skirmishes and the critical encounters. Engagements.
Yeah, can we go back just real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, so the other thing is for anybody that's thinking like, well, why would I want alts in there? Everybody will synced up to level 80. All gear will be immediately synced to 430. So everybody's going to be identical in there. So it is designed for all jobs. And then one of the other big differences from Eureka before we get into, or one of the other things that will make you think of Eureka and how that was different before we get into stuff that's just not even comparable, is that mounts will be available right from the get-go. No flying in this zone, but you won't have to unlock the ability to mount up like you did in Eureka.
And so they say basically you do battle with the 4th Imperial Legion to raise your metal. You, with sufficient metal, you raise your resistance rank to help push the front lines forward. So this is very communal. And then you can storm Castrum Lactus Littori if you raise it up high enough. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I just read that they noted mount speeds will be the same on all mounts. I didn't catch that when we watched the stream.
Well, that's nice. That's actually really helpful because there is an issue with that sometimes. So there's 2 ways that you increase your metal. Now you can go get experience and do whatever you want within just open world enemies, but to raise your metal, you need to participate in skirmishes or critical engagements. Skirmishes are like your fates. That's going to be something we're very familiar with. So they happen randomly. They're just out and about in the world. Critical engagements this is really where it gets great. They are triggered. There's something that's going to happen that's going to trigger a critical engagement, but critical engagements are only for either 24 to 48 people, and I think you're going to queue for them, and you're going to get randomly selected as that works out. So that way, everybody else can watch.
Right. Okay, so here's the order of events. So there's going to be skirmishes going on. Everybody participating in all these different fates. Everybody's out doing their thing. There's up to 72 people in the zone. I assume it'll be just like Eureka where it's all 72 all the time. We're all at 72. We're running around in groups, and things will trigger critical engagements. It will not take long for the community to learn what those things are, just like we learned how to spawn bosses in Eureka. Now, when those spawn, there will be a request for deployment, which will be saying, hey, this battle's about to start. Would you like to go? And you will queue for it just like you would an instance, just like it would pop up and say, hey, do you want to be in line for this? That is going to let a minimum of 24 people in, a maximum of 48 people in. Is how, and it says either 24 or 48. I assume that's 24 to 48, not there are 24 person engagements and 48 person, but I don't know.
I wonder, like, I think maybe you'll have 48 ones or 24 ones, etc. Or maybe it's just like, hey, we only have 24, go. Maybe it's scaled both ways. We'll have to wait. We'll tell you.
But you'll accept.
Yeah, you'll accept.
And then you'll be tossed in just like the beginning of an instance, but the way you get chosen is random. So say 72 people all click accept. It will be random. Now there's a way to prioritize yourself, which is by contributing. So if you're one of the contributing people, that scores you points to do it. Now, if you're just in the zone, you just log in, you're just sitting AFK in the train or whatever spot, however people decide to do this, you might get in, but only if there's room. And then the other thing is there's going to be some items you can buy that also will give you priority items within the zone, which I assume will cost zone currency, but I don't know. They didn't go into that. So there's ways to make sure that people that are engaging in the content get priority, but that's how you'll get tossed in. Then you will be teleported to this basically big giant fate, like a raid sized fate, and other people will be able to see this fate going on. They'll be able to stand outside and look in, but they will not be able to join you, and you guys will be locked in. You'll get to prepare for battle, strategize, break into groups, whatever you do, and then that's when you'll fight.
This is incredible, and I'm so excited to go on hands-on with it. Because not only that, then if you win, it's going to maybe chance a ultimate 1v1 fight where you get to go and somebody who is then rated, I guess, they talk about, like, it could be damage, it could be all kinds of factors, then gets to challenge like the champion, and everybody else gets to stand out and watch them. I can't imagine the pressure, but most likely they said people who do ultimate fights are going to feel right at home here. And anybody else, I guess, if you just do well, you might.
It's gonna wipe you.
It's gonna be interesting to see. So this is gonna be some amazing, something to watch. Imagine just being live and be like, yeah, I'm in the 1v1. It's me. Then you're like, all right, pressure's on, guys.
So you'll have your logo style actions. There's not elements this time, but there are still logo style actions, and those have a weight to them. So you can only carry so many with you. So you'll have your build, and you have to have those to have a chance at beating this 1v1. He said that in the screenshot as they took it, they had a dev tossed in, and all the other devs that were sitting around watching him bet that he wouldn't make it 3 seconds, even though he had all his logos actions available. And they said they were wrong. He did make it 3 seconds. He actually made it 12 seconds before he died. But that was with him using the right actions. So it's not needed to complete the story. This is literally meant to be what they call battle enthusiastic players. This is just hard for the sake of hard. Being chosen will be something like, oh, you didn't get hit by a single AoE in the fight. You're now going to be tossed into this encounter. And so somebody will be chosen.
It goes into the logo sections more, so it has different categories for things you can equip: attacker, defender, healer, buffer, scout, debuffer. I love all of this. This is what I want for the game's role system in the first place, but that's just my perspective. And then item, and it shows some Phoenix Downs stacking as a part of this system. Not necessarily are they making that change to the game, but it's like, yes, finally these things can stack, and maybe that's going to make it more useful, have a bigger value in these bigger skirmishes and these bigger fights overall. Like, this is, dude, like, oh my gosh, I'm checking my pulse, man. My heart is feeling amazing right now.
Now we're getting shards from all this. We're getting lockboxes from this. You can get all of those currencies from skirmishes, critical engagements, but also just killing anything, any field mob that's there. You'll get access to those things.
Oh man. And then it goes more into just stuff like how it plays out, like, and what they've learned from Eureka, and how that kind of changes it out, and how this is where you're going to need to also upgrade your resistance weapon for the Blades of Gunhildr.
Now, this is not their Baldesion Arsenal, right?
No, this is not. So Baldesion Arsenal is going to be coming in 5.4, and that's going to be where that content is dropped. So hopefully we get to see, like, I'm hoping it's all somewhat connected to this, because this system has me excited. So I don't know about you guys.
This is just them stretching their legs. I can't imagine what the upgraded version of Baldesion Arsenal could look like.
Oh, I know. And then they talk about strengthening your resistance weapons. That's coming with the 535. After gaining access to the Boshin Southern Front, players can also accept a quest to begin collecting items to augment their resistance weapons. The required items can be found both in and outside of the Boshin Southern Front. Thank you.
It is not Poetics.
Yeah. Oh man. Let's see. Here's anything else.
Two different kinds of items. It is not Poetics.
So they just kind of then has him running around, showing off different areas, and just the zone itself and how battle hardened it is. Like this looks like it's a place that's under war. And then we get into a special announcement about the upcoming crossover event that kicks off on the 13th. Chris, are you excited about the return?
I am. I
Watch?
didn't realize it had been since 2016 since we had a crossover with Yokai Watch, but Yokai Watch has a game coming out on the 13th, well timed, and so we are going to be getting Yokai Watch back. But for those of you that say you already cleared it, you already got your mount glows, you're amazing, there's more.
So there's new weapons because especially new jobs have been introduced. So all the new jobs that have been introduced since 2016 now have representation. The people were all wondering if this was some kind of glamour or something that was next to the weapon. No, that's a minion. So it's like you can go and sit here and they show off the kind of the minions in games. They show off the Gunbreaker sword. They show off the samurai.
There's a new like kitty beanbag chair that you can ride.
Yeah. And they show off the Red Mage, and they show off the Dancer. Dancer has basically a big ice snowflake there. That's pretty cool. And then here's the new mount that you can try to acquire. A flying kitty beanbag chair itself. So they're excited that it's coming back. And they also then announced the Nintendo Switch version of Yokai Watch on August the 13th. So that we're going to have that, and that's going to run. So this event will run all the way to 5.4. So think about 3.5 months to actually do this content. It is a grind.
It's a lot.
It's a grind.
If you haven't done it and you're starting from if you're starting from scratch, this is a lot. Pace yourself. Set how many you want to get done per week or whatever. It's a lot.
And then they show off all the previous rewards that you can get through this. So if you haven't finished something, you can come back and do this. And that I think is really good. Then they show off the mounts in game itself. So overall, mounts and minions all looking good. It sounds like somebody is at my door. I'm scrolling. Oh, and then so we got to talk about the seasonal events. Chris, why don't you take over? I'm going to mute and see who's at my door.
All right. So first of all, August 12th, we will be going into Moonfire Fair. That's where I believe we'll be getting that Aloha shirt that they showed off on the Rothgar early on in the stream, as well as possibly sunglasses, which would be cool. That'll go through the 26th, so you'll have a little bit of time there. Then we'll go into, we'll be dealing with 5.3 starting on the 11th, which remember we'll be getting part 3 weeks after and part roughly 6 weeks after. On the 19th, we'll be starting our Yokai Watch. So after your first week of 5.3, when everything finally feels like you got it under control, you'll dump into a Yokai Watch. And then we'll be going into the Rising on the 27th. It's hard to believe it's already coming back around to a lot of these. And then the Make It Rain campaign will be in late October to late November. So it'll be that. So we'll be kind of moving in that time period. They didn't say anything about like a Halloween style event or anything like that. So I don't know that this list is exhaustive, but they definitely showed off a nice little calendar there. The Gold Saucer event in late October is a lot of fun. They said parts of the Halloween event that were planned will be appearing in the Gold Saucer event instead. So I don't know how much of that will be present or if we just lose that. That's somewhere in the 5.31 or 5.35 time range. The specific day has not been locked out yet. But that was all they had time for with 5.3. That at that point we'd gone almost 4 hours. They did not even get to show the Shiva Unreal, but they needed to get to announcements. So this has all been positive. We've all been excited. Time to shift gears a little bit and let's talk about fan festivals.
The Japan Fan Festival has been canceled. Basically the government is going to make it impossible for them to have it. So they're trying to figure out.
I mean, not like the government's being like vindictive,
right? No.
In order to safety, they've said large scale events need to cut down to half the personnel, and they would need to clean every Gold Saucer event between every person and have 6-foot spacing in lines, and it just doesn't create a fan festival type experience.
No. And so just pay the one that's tentative is Europe, but honestly, unless something really changes across this world, consider that one possibly canceled as well. But they're hopeful. They're working to figure out what they can do because they really like having these. We like having these. We miss this. We were even talking about maybe when it's safe to do another work to game gathering here in the North Dallas area like we did, like last year. So it's like, but right now it's just not the time. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. The fun stuff they end up showing off, and we'll just use this to kind of wrap up. Showed off a nice Jistola.
The money didn't really affect them, so I wouldn't be shocked if we have a digital fan fest.
I hope so. I hope so. Honestly, it makes you go and you think from future stuff, like how Fortnite does live events in game. I could see that. I don't know if that's something they'll ever code into 14, but cool. I think that if they ever do, like whatever Yoshi's next project, it's like, hey, let's do a live event in game. Let's do something like, let's make sure that the net code is like optimized to be like, okay, guys, everybody's weapons are away now. Everybody, like, because that's how they do it. Like they're just like blast. Here's what's happening.
That's cool.
Crazy rules. But then they also showed off an Omega, a kind of statue, and they go on sale $230. So if you got $230 that you're just willing to get, and you want the statue, they show it off quite in detail. Very fancy. It ships in January. And then they also have the Pulse Music, remix album. So this is kind of taking the 14 music and really kind of giving it some flair. And that actually goes on sale for $30, and that's going to ship, I guess, in September. And I think I'll just listen to it on Spotify. At least that's how it's been happening. They've been adding all their music to Spotify. So that's where I'm going to consume this content. Oh man, Chris, did I miss anything? Is there anything that if we want to wrap up with this? Because there's just so much.
I mean, that's the big thing to loop back around, because it's the most commonly asked question in case somebody missed it earlier. The monk changes, Grease Lightning. Just say it one last time. Grease Lightning is getting a big change, but remember that will be more geared towards 5.4. Bard, you're just getting a push across the board, so some of your skills will get potency increases. Astro, you're having an MP adjustment, so that should help you out. And then Summoner, sorry, you're going to get slapped a little bit.
You can go jump into the Reddit if you guys want to go read through any of this at your own pace, or both Reddit and the Discord. Again, always thanks to the team for putting out that content and helping providing some context. I just want to know what you guys are excited about. Let us know in the comments below if you like this video, if you feel like we've earned your sub, hit like, ring that bell. We'd love to have you back, and I'd love to learn more about what you're enjoying about these video games.
Great day.
Oh, dude.
What a great day. I'm so excited for the 11th.
Yeah. Oh, man. I can't wait. I think that's a day that is going to be a day off work. Here's the day off work. Gonna be streaming. We're gonna figure out what that looks like. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you made it this far, let us know in the comments below. Say Splore Mega Man or something like that, as those are the characters that are running around on the bottom of the screen right now. So much fun. I really appreciate that. Be sure to check us out live on Twitch right now, Monday through Thursday mornings, as we level up Black Mage and continue to work on it. And so we'll be putting out some polls soon, so you guys can vote for the next John My level, so we can get those controller guides wrapped up hopefully here by the time 5.4 drops, so that way I can maybe spend some time with the raids. We'll see. Anyway, I love you guys. Love your faces. For Work to Game, my name is Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.
Take care.